We are here with Salt and Pepper. How has Gail made you?
Don't get me crying.
And we are here live at the SAG Awards. Leave a message. What's the biggest lesson motherhood has taught you?
To be honest.
Studio
I'm the
Q.
Q in the studio.
All right, cutie.
It's a different world.
Thanks for coming. Thank you for Thanks being for letting here. Me know you.
It's an interview with shit over here.
This is probably the best interview I've ever done.
And you're such a great interviewer, my goodness.
This is honestly the best interview I've had in months.
I'm hanging out with my booskies. Studio Q, baby.
Hello, everybody. Happy morning. It's not even afternoon yet. It's 11 a.m. This is unusual time for me doing an interview in 2023, but hey, we're going to roll with it. It's my last Studio Q interview of the year. My name is Quencie. I'm the host and founder of Studio Q. Shout out to everyone joining me right now on Soul TV. Shout out to you, Bobby and Anthony, for always letting me stream live on your Facebook channel. 2 million strong over there. Appreciate you. Shout out to everybody on my Studio Q YouTube channel. If you're watching this on Patreon, shout out to you. And shout out to everybody on my Studio Q Facebook page. So yeah, StreamYard, let us go everywhere all at once, which is beautiful. So today, you guys, listen, I'm giving you the gift. I'm giving you the gift that's going to keep on giving. It's mental health, mental wellness, mental tips and tricks. You know what I'm saying? That's going to trick you into loving yourself and, getting you on the right road. I ran across the wonderful Candice Cox on TikTok a few years ago. I've interviewed her twice before because she's always fire. Let me put her banner, her ticker on the bottom, so you can follow her on TikTok. You can follow her on Instagram. I also put it in the comments, and you can visit her website, chaos. What is it? It's chaos.org.com. Inc. Wait, let me see. Let me read. Chaosinc.org. Yes. Because you can be a member, you can donate and support other people. Like, I'm just so thrilled that mental health and mental wellness is no longer taboo the way it used to be. So without further ado, I see people in the chat. What's up, Ashley? I see you. Let me go ahead and bring on the queen. What's going on? Happy holidays, Candice.
Oh my goodness, happy holidays. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Let me turn you up just on my volume. Yeah, I can hear you fine. You look great. I like the background.
Thank you.
Come on, sweatshirts for the brand.
Oh, you came on. I said, all right, I see her sporting the black. Let's go. Come on, branding is important. Yes, we got to rock our brand like Nike because it's just as important. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And I love you. Listen, you got the hats. You got everything. You got merch. You got the earrings.
Yes, ma'am.
Come on. You are doing it. Firstly, I just want to tell everybody Candice is a therapist, but she's not just a therapist. I mean, she's a mom. You know what I mean? She a sister, she a daughter, she a friend. she's also a speaker and the creator of the Chaos Mindset. So welcome to Studio Q again, Candice. And you know what? Usually I would end with this, but because it's so powerful, I would love if you start out the interview, the chat, the conversation with the chaos affirmation.
All right, let's hit it. Here we go, y'all. My story is my story because it makes me who I am. I'm never ashamed of what I've been through. I'm now doing the best I can. My feelings are my feelings, even when it's a burden to hold. There is nothing wrong with saying it's hard to carry the load. I reset now to remember every situation encourages thought. When I realize, admit, and work through my issues, I can get raw. I embrace my whole truth as I break free. Forgive, release, embrace, and elevate over any dis-ease. One day at a time, no shame on the days I feel troubled. Working hard every day to keep healing and overcoming struggles.
Come on. Where did that affirmation come from?
So basically, like I kind of was like piecing it together and just kind of coming up with some different things when I was going through my divorce, back in 2018, 19, around that time. And I just needed some time for me to be able to, something to kind of get me going. And so like at first I used to have a post-it on my mirror that said I would no longer be a victim of my own poor choices. And so from there, I just kind of kept kind of adding and changing things around. And then that's what I came up with. And that's what I was telling myself. And then I would repeat it all the time. And one time I was working with some high schoolers and them babies made me rap it. And so once I did that, they was like, you need to do that with everybody. I said, I ain't rapping it for everybody, but I will say it. And this just became a part of this anything that I do with chaos.
I love it. And look, Lance is actually a high school student, and he said that's bars.
Hey, Lance. That's what's up. Yeah, they made me drop a hot 16.
And it is. That's what I love about it. Well, first things first, when the holiday, we are full swing in the holidays. Well, we got what, 5 days?
Yes, it's coming. Yes, it's coming fast.
How's yours? Because you're a mom. How's everything going with you in this time of year?
So I'm waiting after I got a podcast to do after this one and one session, and I'm done until January 3rd. I'm out.
Come on. Listen, it's all about the rest. You got to get rejuvenated.
It is, I just posted it on Facebook the other day, I think yesterday, where I said that, you have to make sure you always giving you to everybody else. You got to give you to you. Sometimes, like, you got to ask, who is the you in your life that you are for everybody else? So be that for yourself. And so that's it. I gotta be Candice Chaos for Candice and the kids. Yes.
Amen. And please tell everybody what chaos means again.
So chaos is an affirmation. It stands for keep healing and overcoming struggles. That's it, helping you understand that life gonna happen to you until the day you leave this world. But you have to understand we can either have regular chaos, CHAOS, when we can't help acting out severely, or we can choose to have my chaos, where we know that life happens, but it doesn't mean it have to stop. And we create new normals as we keep healing and overcoming struggles.
Come on, look, I feel like that was a bar too. Come on. Can you talk a little bit about the membership site that you've launched? Because it's $7 a month. People can donate. I saw a TikTok where you were thanking people for donating for other people to have sessions, but also just to your organization, because we need each other. And if you created a community where we can help each other in that way for something as little as $7 a month, I want that first and foremost before we get into the chat.
And so, I say that mental wellness is dope, and dope is done on purpose every day, and so I wanted to create something where people can have access to a therapist, and so am I ringing? I'm ringing over here. There we go. I'm like, am I ringing? And so I wanted it to be something where people had access and it didn't cost them a lot. You spend $7 on the extra value meal or something like that, and so what it is it's on the chaos. It's called the Chaos Community, and it's on Facebook. And so it's like, what I do is I put affirmations in there every day. I put videos that other people don't have access to in there. We do Talk About It Tuesdays, where, it's no judgment, because who are we to judge you just because you struggle differently than we do? We all struggle. And so just where you have access to a therapist and other people within the community, where we just heal and grow together, where, people say it all the time, it's okay not to be okay. And it's true. But once you realize you're not okay, then you got to do something about it.
Amen. And you guys can follow Candice at Candy Cox 220 on TikTok and Instagram. And I have the link in the chat as well for her organization as well. So, and look, hey, you got resources out here now.
I see. Look, we a 501c3 nonprofit organization as well. And so if you would like to donate to us, we would definitely appreciate it. Anything that you donate goes toward, we go into schools, we have curriculums. And so we go into schools and teach kids about mental health and wellness. The Chaos curriculum was created to teach individuals how to assess, address, and reduce the impact of toxic and traumatic stress in their lives. And so we do professional developments, we do parent workshops, all of those different things. Like, my whole thought process is money should never be the reason why you can't get healing.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen. Well, let's get into this conversation before you have to leave for this podcast. Well, I the last time I spoke with you, I mean, I've interviewed you twice since I've started interviewing live on the internet, and I remember you talking about your mother also getting therapy, and you're an only child, and how that is helping, with your family dynamic. Can you speak to what you specialize in, because I think that's dope, and then how therapy, because also y'all, Candice got a therapist. She's just not a therapist. She got one. Her mama got one.
Yes, so, every fourth Wednesday at 2:00, I see my lady. I'm a therapist with a therapist. Let it be known. Yes.
So can you talk about your specialty and how you having a therapist and then getting, people that you love on board, who you've had, relationship that means the most to you, how all that has helped?
Yes. And so basically here it is. Like, I specialize in intergenerational and environmental trauma. And so when we think about intergenerational trauma, it's the things that's happened throughout the lineage of your families that continue to happen because ain't nobody did nothing about it. Or it's because we've lived by that. What happens in my house stays in my house. And so, the thing that we have to understand is, if what happens in your house stays in your house, then when you leave that house and start your own house, or your kids leave the house and start their own house, y'all are going to take their brokenness with you, and so that's what keeps it going. And then environmental trauma, the things that happen around us, and not just, what's in your household, what's in your community, your job, your schools, but also like COVID was an environmental trauma, things that, they happen and they stunt you. And then, it kind of changes the trajectory of what you had going on in your life. And so I am my mother's only child, and I am my grandmother's only grandchild. So we take it down. And there is a history of intergenerational trauma just within the family, just with a multitude of things. But we'll just talk about just with the women and their daughters. That is a huge thing. And so, I started to get counseling, and I started to recognize what the issues were. And I started to bring those things, to the forefront. And it was not met with love and compassion in the beginning. My mother had a real issue, and she was like, you try to use reverse psychology on me and all that other kind of stuff. But then she started to recognize. And so now she has a counselor, and my grandmama just started going to counseling probably about a month and a half ago. And so like,
overcoming struggles.
Come on, doing it through the generations, and so like, I always like to say that, the blessing in this was that not only did I get to heal, but we got to heal forward and backwards, because my children know the importance of mental health and wellness, and now I could say my ancestors, my lineage, my mother, my grandmother, they know the importance of it as well. And it's removed that shame that people once had, in regard to that must mean that something is wrong with me. And I need anybody that's out here listening to understand that having therapy don't mean there's something wrong with you. It means that it's a possibility that something has happened to you throughout your life. And whatever happened to you, it changed you in the way that you interact with the world around you. And that's it. Being able to find out what happened to you, being able to find out how it impacted you, and then being able to understand the things that are happening with you and why you react the way that you react, so that you can unlearn, relearn, and create a new normal. That's what it's all about.
How has that helped your relationship with mother and grandmother? And because you're a therapist with your kids, like, how has it changed the family dynamic?
And so, I mean, having the ability to have conversations, and so that it's not the talking at each other, we talk to each other, and I think that that's one of the most valuable things. And my mother and my grandmother understanding the importance of listening to my kids and understanding that they have a voice. Just because they're not adults, it doesn't mean that they don't have feelings, and that their feelings and words don't mean something, because the way I grew up, as my daughter be saying in the 1900s, she can kick rock. But when I grew up, and most of us grew up, it was children are seen and not heard. It is you speak when spoken to, but you do what I tell you to do. And it's like, yeah, but if we just are dictating all the time, we not raising kids that have a full understanding or emotional literacy and or emotional intelligence. We just raising little robots that know how to do what they've been told. And if we never learned how to deal with our emotions, and we don't teach them how to deal with their emotions, then we just got people that's just out here winging it emotionally and make it make sense. Why is that okay?
Exactly. I love that, because I definitely came from a generation of, because my mother was raised by her grandmother. So my grandmother was my great grandmother. I had no idea, for a while. And I'm grateful that my mom always had a seat for me at the table, but the rest of the family,
baby,
let me tell you, the rest of my cousins, you know what I mean? They probably looked at me like I was very, who she thinks she is, because my mother made space for my feelings and my opinion in a family that were children, you in the other room. You don't have a voice.
Right.
Yeah. So I love that for your kids, because they get the benefit of what therapy has served in your life and what you've given to your mom and grandma.
And I'm gonna tell you, and so I got 2 kids, they 13 and 17. So, the 17-year-old, my son called her rough draft because I was learning with her, and so the 13-year-old, he got it a little bit better than the 17-year-old. So the 17-year-old, I say all the time, I used to tell her, and I still tell her now, I say, baby, I'm learning with you. And so mama ain't always going to have it right. So I have no problem with apologizing to you. I have no problem with being like, all right, yeah, I ain't do that right. Let's come back and let's try it again. And I think that that's something that we as parents and we as adults, period, need to understand. It's absolutely okay. It's detrimental for us to apologize to our kids. It's detrimental. You have to apologize to these kids because you could be wrong. And sometimes you got to check yourself before you check a kid. And we can't be so bent on respect and so bent on I'm grown that we are emotionally and or verbally abusing kids in the name of being grown. Because that's not fair.
No. Not to them or to you, because you're missing out on the relationship.
Right. And you wondering why your kid ain't talking to you. You wonder why your kid ain't fooling with you. You know what I'm saying? And it's because of the way that you treat them. But you don't even recognize that the way that you are treating them, that you talking at them, not talking to them. And that's important. Like understanding that that communication is real.
Yeah. Yeah. You talked about the difference between people having kids and parents.
Baby, it's a difference. Yes, I said it. Yes, there are people with kids and then there are parents. You know what I'm saying? And so we know a lot of people with kids, they got them, but they don't necessarily, yes, you was able to produce, baby, there you go. Somebody call you mama, somebody call you daddy, but you out here doing your own thing and you not even looking at what's important for your kids. You're not willing to sacrifice to make sure that your kids have their needs taken care of, not even just wants, but their needs taken care of. And sometimes the difference between parents and people with kids is parents are making sure that their kids are taken care of. Parents are that their kids are taken care of emotionally and taken care of physically. It's not just about financial. And people with kids, they be like, yeah, I see what I can do. Parents are like, no, we finna make this happen.
Come on. I love the different, the difference between the two, because it's a whole bunch of us can reproduce.
Yes. And it's a whole lot of parents that had kids with people with kids.
Thank you. Talk about generational.
We just out here like, look here, did you just plug it out? Is this look? I'm doing the best I can. I can't tell you what they gonna do. That's all I got. But I'm gonna do what I can do over here. That's all I got. That's just facts.
I've heard Oprah say a lot of times that she didn't have therapy because the Oprah Winfrey was her therapy. But what I have found being in therapy for the last couple of years, that I don't care how much I've talked to a friend, I don't care how many times I've listened to a podcast, read a book, watched something that really moved me. It's very different from having a personalized one-on-one person address your issues and your problems. So I don't know how, it may work for her, but can you speak to that, because you're a therapist, you know what I mean? Because I'm sure other people, they might not have the Oprah Winfrey show, but they're like, I read a book. I was on the TikTok panel.
Baby. Some people, there's a whole lot of folks that got TikTok therapists. I be like,
Oh
listen,
my
you
God.
need 60 seconds, though, cuz they be like, you my TikTok therapist. I need you to come see somebody more than 60 seconds. Now, look, it's more to it now. But here it is. Things are different for everybody. Like, I actually am in the process rolling into 2024. Look, you're the first to hear it. Rolling into 2024, I'm taking the chaos mindset and creating a certification program. And so therefore, with certification, those that are already clinicians can become chaos certified clinicians. And then those that are coaches can become chaos certified coaches. Some people, I feel that everybody can benefit from therapy, but some people just don't want therapy, and sometimes they need coaching. Sometimes they just need somebody to help walk them through certain things. They don't want, to have the clinical aspect of it. I feel that if you're not going to go and sit down with a clinician, which I think is very valuable, because you have somebody that has the ability to walk you through certain things, to help you to be, I'm on the outside. I'm not your friend. I'm not somebody that has a connection to you in any way, form, or fashion. I just want you to be the best version of you, and I can help you help yourself. That's what therapy is about. But some people don't want that. You still need something to help you be able to change your perspective, because your way is not the only way. And that's something that you have to understand. But even with, the books, and even with the podcast, and even with, all of those different things, when you find yourself in a place where you stuck and you can't move past that, please, please, please go see a therapist. It's no difference. And I say this every time we talk. It's no difference where I've been at home and I've had this toothache for all this time, and I done took all this medicine and it ain't nothing working. I done did the salt water rinses, and I done did whatever Big Mama told me I'm supposed to do. I did all that, and I still have this. Then I'm gonna go see a dentist. It's like the same thing after I done did the books, and I done did all of these different things. And just to be clear, Oprah done had the Oprah Winfrey Show. Oprah has kind of inadvertently had therapy, because she done had 792 therapists come and sit in that garden with her. You know what I'm saying? And she asked them questions, and they kind of give it to her. And I'm pretty sure it's a whole lot of behind the scenes stuff that we ain't seen. So she might not have did it the traditional way, but Oprah seen a couple therapists.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm like, and all the research that our producers got to do,
it just may not be traditional. And that's the thing. That's what chaos is about. We urbanize mental health and mental wellness. We not about traditional. I'm not gonna sit and be like, how does that make you feel? Like I'm not that traditional type of therapist, but whatever it is that you need for you to get to where you need to get to, for you to be able to move past those barriers, for you to be able to rewire your neurotransmitters, whatever it is that you need, get that healing, because you deserve that.
What are the most repeated things that you have to teach in your practice that Black women suffer from?
Baby, cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions are those things that, I say we filter it through those stained glass windows. You know what I'm saying? But really is we filter it through our experiences that we've had. And, a lot of us as Black women, and I'm going to say it because I'm one of us, we have been told ourselves a whole story in our head, and then put the feelings together about the story that we done told ourselves. And then we going to treat the people the way we treat them based off of what we done told ourselves, and we is dead ass wrong. Like, just being 100, and then, and it's that all or nothing thinking, that's another cognitive distortion, and, so just being able to teach us as women to be in the present. We got a skill called reset, which is remember every situation encourages thought. And that is helping individuals understand, am I in the present, or am I in the past, or am I worried about the future? Because that's the thing, we, especially us as Black women, we so busy going, we so busy doing, we so busy making it happen that we really don't even take the time to be present until it's in the past. Think about it.
Wow.
And that's not fair. And so that's one major thing, is teaching us as women, especially Black women, I need you to be present in the presence of what's happening with you. This ain't that. And just because you had this experience there, it doesn't mean that that's the same experience that you're going to have here.
Yeah, I love that, because even simple things like my mom and I was walking and somebody was on the porch, with the dog. My mom made a whole story. That person didn't even live there.
Baby.
I was like, Mom, God.
And she felt what she felt about the story that you told herself.
So I just became hip to that, and I call her out all the time. I was like,
yes.
did you do any research? Did you talk
Yes.
to them? Because you just
Yes.
made a whole story that
Yes.
you don't know if it exists or not.
Yes.
And
that's
I didn't know
the thing. And so it's called cognitive distortions. It's like 12 of them. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, all of those things where people start catastrophizing things. It's probably what she did. She had made the story bad and everything was all bad. The dog was vicious and everything. And that dog, that ain't even that man dog. That dog just sitting up there minding his own business. Ain't
How
never
about the lady didn't even live there? She was
You
a visitor.
dog named Fluffy. And she'd have made the dog out to be Cujo. Like,
Right.
and it's just, and those are the things, like, we just have to be mindful to be present. We have to be mindful to understand that everything, all experiences are different experiences. There may be some things that remind you of old experiences, but you have to allow yourself to each experience be a new experience, because something different can come from it.
Yeah, I love that. In scrolling on TikTok this year in particular, because each year has been different since the pandemic, but this year in particular, when I tell you there's the panel of all panels when anything happens in the world, mostly gossip or with relationships, and they got like 15,000 people.
Maybe into
20,000 people on the panel. And, as an interviewer, one of the things that I had to learn immediately, because I am a talker. I was that little girl who ran, behind my mom, talking. So the first thing I had to learn was how to listen, and not just be a listener, but be an active listener. So when I'm, I can't even understand what people's points are, because they are so busy wanting to be heard, but then they're immediately interrupting other people. So can you speak to that dynamic in our society, where obviously people have not been heard enough, not been acknowledged enough, but also your opinion is not fact either.
Yes.
And so it just comes across so toxic. So can you just speak to that? Because I know you've seen it.
Man, all the time. And I'll be like, man, I'm so tired of these people that are professionals and not. Look at this. Look at you, went to YouTube University and you became a professional. Look at you. And it's so real. And so, I tell people all the time, like, your feelings are your feelings, your thoughts are your thoughts, and they're important. But you have to understand that what you tell yourself is your truth, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the truth. And that's something that you have to understand. And so with that, you have to be willing to listen to other people, because you can learn something. Everybody has different perspectives, and there's more than one way to get somewhere. And so it's important. I tell my son is gifted. The baby is very smart. He really is. But I tell him all the time, I say, you know what? The most important people, the most people that get the most knowledge, the smartest people, they are the ones that listen more than they talk. And so I need you to be able to listen, because you can learn something in silence that you could lose when you're trying to overtalk and get your point. And that's something that we need to understand. But I think, like, so many people are trying to get TikTok famous. So many people out here trying to have viral moments. So many people out here are trying to have that instant success, that they trying to get something out there, and they trying to, I'm trying to get the next point. I'm trying to make my point known. I'm trying to get the next clip that's going to go viral. I'm trying to get it out there. But you out here spreading all this bad information, and then you hurting people. And that's the biggest.
Speak to that, because I never even considered hurting people. Can you speak to that?
Because think about it. People think that I think that I got it, and I'm talking about this, and I'm talking about this based off of my experience, and I'm saying it, and I may be a person that has a following. And so I'm out here and I'm speaking on this like it's fact, and I have nothing to ground this in fact other than my speculation. And then somebody follows that, and it's wrong. Like, you have to be very mindful about what comes out of your mouth. You know, and it's like I say oftentimes, if I know what it is and I know it's fact, then this is what it is. But if not, then it's like, hey, this is my thought on it. This is how I feel about it. We have to start putting those things, those kind of things in place. So therefore people know and understand that, like, you don't speak on it to be fact if that ain't what it is.
Yes. And so this is a great opportunity to segue into, because like I'll read stuff on the blogs because, you know, it comes across my feed. But when I go live and connect with people, I don't like going there because it's just based on opinion, and everybody has opinion and we don't really have all of the facts.
Right.
But yes. But today I've got a therapist. So not that I want to go into, you know, all the specifics of a certain thing, but just spinning it off into what you know about the hot button, but going further into giving your advice of, you know, who you may have dealt with or what you can give your opinion about the situation. Because one of your TikToks said that there are so many people so quick to judge until they are in that same situation.
Ooh, baby, like what I wouldn't do, and then look at you doing it because you in that situation.
Exactly. So I'm going to mention some hot topics and some famous people, just because I just want your take on it from a therapist. And I would never do this just regularly because I just don't like the back and forth. And how you going to be wrong if it's your opinion?
That's
how
it.
you going to be?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So recently, there was all over the news about, you know, the Diddy and Cassie situation, and how Cassie, you know, sued 11 years being in that. And she was he settled in 48 hours. And the thing that disheartened me the most is the comment section about people saying like, why did she wait so long? And she just looking for the bag and, you know, just things like that. So can you address just the mentality of people in abuse situations or traumatic situations who can't leave, why they don't leave, and just addressing that comment section? Because that's where my heart drops, is like, this is what we think as a collective.
Yes. And it goes back to what I said. And then that's when your opinions hurt people. You know what I'm saying? Like, real talk. So here it is. You know, and I think I've broken this down before. Like, when a person has been exposed to a trauma or a high amount of toxic and or traumatic stress, which an abusive relationship is traumatizing, as well as it's a high amount of toxic and traumatic stress, they can do a series of 4 things: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. You know, and so, you know, the fighters are your people that are, I ain't gonna let this happen to me no more. So I'm fighting, I'm arguing, I'm gonna get you before you get me, you know, those type of people, those rah-rah people, you know. But then you got your fleers, and you got your people that just run. You got your people that when they run, running is different. Running can be smoking it away, drinking it away, partying it away, sexing away, different things to avoid. You know what I'm saying? And then you got your freezers, and your freezers are your people where they stay in the situation because they may feel that they don't have no other way out, or this is what I have to deal with, or I have to go through this physically. But then mentally they disconnect, they disassociate. You know, and then you got your fawners, and your fawners are your people where they become those people where I don't want this to happen to nobody else, or somebody didn't do right by them. So they become the I'll do it, I'll take care of it, I got it. And then they do that for other people, but then people end up teaching people how to use them by accident. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, when you have people that are in abusive situations, they can do a combination of those things. And so, like, when I looked at Cassie, I was like, wow, you know, while she was in that situation, it's kind of like, also there's something called Stockholm syndrome, you know, where you fall in love with your abuser, you know, and there's also something called trauma bonds. You know, I was in a 17-year relationship, 13-year marriage. And it's like, as I sat back, I was like, oh, snap. I was in a trauma bond. I married my mama and my daddy in the same person and didn't even recognize that was happening. And so sometimes you can convince yourself that the things that you are going through, that it's going to get better, or you can convince yourself that it's not that bad, or you can convince yourself that the good times outweigh the bad times. And what's going on with you psychologically, that's what you're telling yourself. And like I said, what you tell yourself is your truth, but it doesn't mean it's the truth. And so what I believe that happened with that baby is she went through all of that with him. And then she now is in a healthy relationship. And now she possibly is getting therapy as well. And now she's seeing that all of the things that she went through, that it wasn't right, that it was that bad. And now she's like, I got to do something about it because I don't want that to happen to somebody else.
Yeah.
And as we've seen, folks is coming out the woodworks. There's been a whole lot of other things that didn't happen.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And you can't put a time frame on somebody's healing process.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I have met with women and men that have been through certain things, and they went through these things when they was kids, and now they in their 30s and 40s, and we just now dealing with it. Yep. You know, and then it's like you want to talk bad about Cassie with the Diddy situation, but let's talk about the people that Uncle Charles touched in when they was 7, 8 years old, but they still going to Thanksgiving dinner with Uncle Charles and taking their kids.
Come on.
What's the difference?
Yeah. Come on. Look, go say hi to Uncle Charles.
You hear me? You hear me? Go give Uncle Charles a hug. Go sit on Uncle Charles' lap. You know what I'm saying? Because you never dealt with your stuff or putting your kids in those type of situations. And so it's like, whenever it happens, whenever the light goes off that this wasn't okay.
Yeah.
Whenever it happens and whenever you start healing, that's when it's the time for you to do what's needed to do, for you to unpack that, process it, purge it, and become the best version of you. And I believe that this is the space for her to do it where she feels safe, because everybody doesn't always feel safe either to heal. And Diddy's a big force. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, also, I can't come out with nothing if I don't have all my ducks in a row.
Amen. Amen. And also, I don't care how much money she got. Like, that does not equate to healing people.
No, and it's not, and it's still the emotional scar. She's gonna have that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, people don't think about the intrusive thoughts. People don't think about the night terrors. People don't think about the hypervigilance, you know, all of those things that's associated with the traumatic experiences. You know, there are the somatic things, the headaches, the body aches, the, you know, the sleeplessness, you know, those types of things. You know, we don't think about that. I'm just going to say it to those that are out there. So many people have normalized abuse that we think that the things that we are going through are normal. But when you really think about it, we out here like cars with our check engine lights on, and we scared to go put our car on a diagnostic because we don't want to know what all them lights mean when they come on to say that something ain't right inside of us.
Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness. Which brings me to also Christian Keys, the actor who recently came out and talked about sexual harassment. And people are more concerned about who did it than did it happen.
And that's the thing. And that's another reason why people don't come out, because nobody wants to validate you. Why is it that I'm the victim, but you're making me the demon? You know what I'm saying? And it's like people are so quick to want to know the gossip. They want to know the story, you know, that they don't think about the impact on the person. You know, watching him, I'm like, oh yeah, that baby, something happened to him. You know, you can tell it, you know, in a way that he's telling. And he's spoken out about some of this stuff over the years, and his story has remained consistent. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, you know, also being a man who has dealt with something like that, it's a lot that comes behind that. Because if I'm a man and I've had another man that has done this to me, and I was in a situation of control, you know, that I didn't know what to do in this position or in this situation, and these things happen, then there's the guilt and the shame and the things that I feel inside of me because this happened to me. And I also have to deal with the impact of what you did to me. So it's a lot of layers to it. You know, people again are quick to judge people, but you don't know unless you've been through it. And just because you walk that walk a certain way, it don't mean that's the way somebody else gonna walk it. So like I say all the time, give people grace versus your judgment.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Which brings me, I only got two more. Jada Pinkett, the hate that I saw for that woman in the comment section from Black women, Black men. I mean, they were whole think pieces.
It was whole think pieces between that whole family, and they still and what they still live in color, and they still together. You know what I'm saying? All these people, like, that's the thing, and that's another thing. Like, people have the thought process that things have to go a certain way. The way that they do their marriage, the way that they do what they're doing is the way that they do it, and we got to stop feeling like we have the right to put our opinions on other people's lives. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day about that. And he was like, I said, people have a problem with trying to police other people's relationships.
Yes.
And we got to cut that out.
Yes.
Because you don't want nobody policing your relationship, but you quick to police somebody else's.
Yeah.
And if what they got works, then that works for them. Whatever they got going on over there, it works for them. So let them do that. But they ain't got nothing to do with you.
And maybe it's always been, but because of social media, we get to see it, in real time. So I was just like, I mean, I'm defending somebody I don't even, right. I don't even know.
and it's like at the end of the day, like, just like I read Real's book. I didn't read Jada's, but just kind of following Jada, at the end of the day, like, those are both broken babies. Yeah. And so, broken babies fell in love and they had babies. And that's what happened. What I'm saying? And sometimes
I just applaud them for trying to get help, for trying to be honest, for trying to,
and like I said, even like I said with my own marriage, broken people in love go through a lot of shit. Like, that's just being 100, and either you are going to work it out and you're going to heal. Both of you are going to heal individually and create something solid together, or you don't, you know what I'm saying? And like, I applaud them. They both seem to want to heal individually to be the best versions of themselves separately, then bringing it together to be the best versions of themselves together. And I mean, that's it. Nobody looking for somebody else to make them happy. They want to be happy on their own and then come together and see what that looks like. And
because happiness is an inside job anyway.
Baby, I say it all the time. Happiness, joy, peace, they inside jobs. You got to do the work.
Yeah. And speaking of, like, you talked about the 17-year relationship that you had and 13-year. Can you talk about, like, spinning the block? Like, we see Ashanti and Nelly spinning the block.
Yeah. So I burned my bridge and demolished it. So there's no more. We can't spin the block. I repurposed the neighborhood. So we can't spin the block. That ain't for me. But I am excited about Nelly and Ashanti's situation. That's what's up for them. I do not advocate for everybody to spin the block.
That's what I want to know. Just about people spinning the block.
You know what I'm saying? So here it is. Like, in my situation, me and my ex-husband, we grew in two different directions. The people that married each other are not the people that we are today. And so therefore, we don't complement each other today. And sometimes when you marry people or you get in relationships with people and you're broken, when you heal, you're no longer attracted to what you was attracted to when you was broken. That's just being 100. In Nelly and Ashanti's case, what it looked like is they had what they had then. The love was there, but they grew in different directions and happened to have grown back together. And for what it looks like, but we all on the outside looking in, it looks like it's healthy. And so if it's healthy, let them have it, let them do it. But don't you be spinning the block and that wasn't healthy then and now it ain't healthy now. Don't you do that.
That's what I want you to speak to, because we just use these as
I say, hey, pattern. Look, I say it all the time. Patterns don't lie, people do. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, don't you let Keisha or Lamar tell you that they gonna do something different, and Keisha and Lamar ain't did no work to be nothing different than they was the last time.
Yeah, because listen,
same person they was 10 years
later.
Thank you,
because time passes does not mean that you got.
No, it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing. We are who we are until we learn to become something different. Right. So if you never unlearn the things that you were doing that were toxic, you're going to keep doing it. We operate 90% from our subconscious brain and 10% from our conscious brain. We have to know that. That means 90% of the things that you do are based off of things that have already happened. So that if you haven't replaced that with something, if you are brought to a situation that's familiar, within a millisecond, your brain runs it. And if this is what we did last time, we're going to do it again. If it was dog trash the first time, it's going to be dog trash the 719th time that you do it, until you learn how to address it, you process it, you purge what doesn't work, and you replace it.
Yes. I love that. And I don't think that just us in the general society would know that, just normally. We don't know that 90% we reacting,
That's why y'all should go to therapy. No,
Exactly. Listen to that song by Mary J. Blige. Why do I have to deal with you when I can go to therapy? Okay.
Hey, facts. But it's just real. And like, I always say, we joke about it and stuff, but like I say all the time, if you'll go to a dentist for a toothache, if you would go to an eye doctor to get glasses, if you'll go to the hospital, if your body is hurting so bad you can't figure out what's wrong with it, it's absolutely okay for you to go to see a therapist if you're so depressed that you can't pull yourself out the bed. Or if your anxiety is so bad that you flip it out on everybody and can't get nothing done. Mm-hmm. Or if you've been traumatized and you always sabotage in relationships and certain things like that, it's okay for you to go to somebody to help you help yourself become the best version of you. No shame.
No shame.
No shame. You ain't gonna have no shame going to the ER. Don't have no shame.
Thank you. My last celebrity that I would love you to know your thoughts on is, I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm a huge Whitney Houston fan. And I wanted to know, because, Whitney was really religious. I mean, she grew up in the church, I should say that. And I remember her even saying, if God can't help me, and we've talked about this before about the church, if God can't help me, God can't get me off of, whatever, then whatever, if Jesus can't do it. And I just wanted to know, for somebody in the place where she was in life, how do you think therapy could have helped and changed her trajectory of life emotionally?
I say all the time, you can have God, but don't shy away when God sends you a therapist. You know what I'm saying? Like you can have religion and therapy. You can have faith and therapy. And I think that, a lot of the things that, Whitney was going through in regard to just her identity, in regard to just relationships, in regard to, just the fame and kind of how it impacted her. She was like, when you look at her, she was what we call a fleer. You think about it. Your fleers are your people that smoke it away, drink it away, work it away, party it away. She threw everything into work. She threw everything into this persona that she was created to be. But then she disconnected, also a little freeze, because she disconnected to who she was at the root. And so, had she had the ability to go through therapy, had she had the ability to get the things that she needed, and her baby too, had they had the ability, then they could have learned that possibly a lot of the things that they used other things for to run away from the things that they were dealing with, they could have went through it instead of trying to go around it.
And I bring that up because so many people suffer from that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And people don't understand, when we look at addiction and different things like that, addiction ain't just drugs and alcohol. People are addicted to food. People addicted to, I'm addicted to chocolate. Baby, when I started my weight loss, I went through withdrawal. I was not okay, seriously, and so it's people depend on certain things because they have become comforts. And so, we have what you call maladaptive and adaptive coping skills. And most of the time we utilize those maladaptive coping skills because those are the things that they provide that instant, whatever release from whatever it is. But at the end of the day, when all that is done, when the work is all completed, when the high goes down, when the alcohol is gone, when whatever it is that you do for you to run from it, at the end of the day, you still there with them thoughts and they come back. So you're constantly running. And that's not fair to you.
Yeah. One of the things that I just really, it kind of upset me because I couldn't blame anybody else when starting therapy is that really, and you said it many times in different videos, that this journey of life is really about you. And so from your kids to your mom, to the friends, to the husband, to the wife that come along the way and walk a piece of the journey with you, that's just gravy. That's extra. But it's really all about you. So one of the things I learned is that, you can't make people apologize. You can't make people be accountable. It all comes back to you. And I realized that I had given the keys to the car to somebody else and then got in the back seat and complained about where
we going, but you ain't gave them no direction. You know what I'm saying? So they gonna
take mad.
You hear me? Yeah. And so that's so we got the raw skill with chaos. RAW stands for realize, admit, and work through. Realize what the issue is, whatever it may be. Call a thing, call it out, realize it, identify it. But then admit, you got to admit your role in it. Even if sometimes your role is silence, you got to admit your role in it and how it's impacting you. And then that W is work to create a new normal. But with that admit, with that part of it, you have to understand that you can't change people. You can only change yourself, the level of access you give people to you, and how you respond to what they do. That's all you got. So we have to stop putting other people in charge of what happens with us.
Yeah. You good?
Yeah, that's it. 17-year-old blowing me up. That's all.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But to me, after realizing you can't blame nobody else, then you find power in the fact that you actually have a lot of control.
Yes, you go from being a victim to being victorious. And that's the thing that we have to understand, that we not victims. We may have been victims of other people's poor choices. We may have even been victims of our own poor choices. But at the core of us, we are not victims. And so that's why I tell people all the time, like, we got the free skill, and the last E in free is to elevate. And so I say, get out of why and do WHW. What, how, what happened? How did it impact me? And then what am I going to do about it? Yeah. That's what it's about.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that so many of us suffer from is expecting you out of other people.
Yes. I say it all the time. We hurt our own feelings on an everyday basis because we expect us out of other folks. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we are who we are based off of what we've been through, the experiences we've had, and the people that we've come into contact with. And so we have to understand that we don't know what somebody else has been through, the experiences they've had, and who they've come into contact with. So just because we would respond a certain way, it doesn't mean that they have that response in them. And sometimes we are holding people to unrealistic expectations. Sometimes they don't even have the capacity to give us what we want, need, and or desire. And we know it, but we keep on getting mad at them because they can't give us what they've already shown us that they can't give us, or that they don't want to give us. So once you see people for who and what they are and not for what you want them to be, then the ball is in your court for you to decide the level of access that you want them to have to you.
Yes. And Candice, I'm a Cancer, which means I have held on to things way past their expiration date. People, places, and things. Say that again.
I said, I'm a Pisces. We just be swimming, just love it. That's all. We just want babies. That's all. Go ahead.
So, and I'm sure even in other signs, sometimes people have held on longer than they should have. How can we learn to let go to things that no longer serve us?
And so, so that goes back to our free skill: free, forgive, release, embrace, and elevate. First, because the whole time, sometimes when you holding on to stuff, a part of that you projecting because you mad at yourself because of what you allowed. So you got to own that. So first you got to forgive yourself for not being who you felt you wanted or needed to be in the situation. And then you got to forgive the other person for not being who you wanted them or needed them to be in that situation. And then the R is to release them from the unrealistic expectations that you held them to. And then that E is to embrace them and the situation for what it was, what it is, and what it can be with love and compassion. It happened. It did. I can't change that. How is it impacting me now? And then how do I want to take what I got from this and how do I move forward? Because forgiveness does not mean continued access. Forgiveness does not mean that you got to spin the block. Forgiveness does not mean, that you have to still maintain the relationship. But forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness and letting go is for you, because it is when you get to a point where chaos, forgiveness is when you get to a point where the person or the situation no longer negatively impacts you.
Yes.
That's the thing. The release is for you, because why is it okay for you to be an emotional hostage to something that you have no control over?
Come on now. Yeah. And you said that if you want to still get your lick back or waiting for them to get karma,
you ain't forgave. If you still waiting, if you still plotting on their downfall, you lied to yourself because you ain't over it. And that's just the realest thing ever. Let whatever be will be, whatever is. But you have to, it's about flowing. It's about movement. It's about that. It's about the journey, and that is it. Like when people ask me about my divorce, I tell them all the time, I say, I don't have no problems with that man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was what it was. We had some good times. We had some bad times. You know, we shared some tears. We shared some laughs. You know, but at the end of the day, it was an experience. I learned something. He learned something. We grew. We were able to become who we are, and I wouldn't be who I am without those experiences. And for that, I appreciate it.
That's dope. Now that's dope. That is dope. What are some things that we can do to make this upcoming holiday special and protect our feelings? Because you gave something on Thanksgiving. You like, don't go to places and spaces just because of the role you play in their life.
And I mean that. Toxic loyalty. First and foremost, you do not have to be loyal to people just because of the role that they play in your life. I mean that. I don't care if everybody wants you to go over Big Mama house, but like I said, you know, Uncle Charles gonna be there. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to subject yourself or your kids there. You do not have to go to places where people verbally and or emotionally abuse you just for the sake of family. And I need you to understand this, that you can't choose your relatives, but you can choose who you call family. And so therefore, sometimes you may not spend the holidays with your relatives, but you may spend the holidays with your family. And that's who you created as your family. And that's what it's all about. Preserve your peace, maintain your boundaries, and bring your own self-joy.
Yes. And finally, you know, we talk a lot about self-care, and I know the relationship you have with yourself is the most important one that you're going to have. It's the longest one that you have.
Right. Yeah. You come here with you and you leave here with you. That's what you get.
Yes. Yes. And so, you know, I just like how, look, I didn't have a complete brain fart. I looked at the comment. Well, you know, just how, I mean, I don't know, like, how can we, because you have this thing called like a trauma list or something where you go through the timeline. Yes. So what can we do to not just have a better relationship with ourselves, but to chronicle the trauma to find out what happened to us and how to go about addressing that?
And so there's two things. So one, the trauma timeline, but two, also an emotional inventory. And so the trauma timeline is you taking a piece of paper and you writing your birthday on one end and the date that it is today. And then you just, you marking the places, whether it's by age or it's by date, of the things that changed you, the things that impacted you in a negative way. That's a way for you to look and be like, okay, this is what happened to me. You know, and then how did those things impact me? And it may be after you do that, that it's time for you to go see somebody to help you kind of work through those things. You know what I'm saying? But also being able to stay on top of it is doing the emotional inventory. And so this is what we do often with chaos. You look at the 5 pillars: mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and financial. And so get you a piece of paper and make your lines. And for each one, you write the mental, the physical, the spiritual, the emotional, financial. Write where you actually are. Be honest with yourself. Don't lie to you, because if you lie to you, you can't change nothing. And then flip the page and write it again. Make the columns: mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and financial. And then write where you want to be. Because what that does is that gives you a starting place for where you are, and then it gives you a place for where you want to go, and then you figure out what you need to do in the middle. And so, and I tell people, do that every 3 months. So do it quarterly. Yeah, do it quarterly so you can see kind of where you're going, because that's how you keep up with it. You know, people make resolutions at the beginning of the year, and then by February 13th, they figure out I ain't finna do nothing different. So you literally, like I tell a lot of times, stuff don't change until stuff change. So you got to be willing to make some changes.
Yes. And what do you got coming up so that we can stay connected? And how do we stay connected?
So, you know, so the next season of Chaos Conversations is coming next year. And so you can watch that on Unheard TV. If you have Roku, Fire TV, or Apple TV, download Unheard TV. You can download it now and catch the first 2 seasons of Chaos Conversations on Unheard TV. Also, I'm, you know, constantly speaking and, you know, expanding in different ways like that. But also, we are getting ready to work toward broadening the chaos community. So like we're creating the certification program. So therefore clinicians and coaches, look out for that. And then building on an app so that the chaos community can be at your fingertips.
Nice. Look, you stay busy. You be on it. Okay.
But hey, I say it, mental wellness is dope. So I try to create as many opportunities for people to recognize that it's done on purpose every day. Like urbanizing mental health and mental wellness. Like I feel like I figured out what I'm supposed to do here and I get to do it every day. So I'm like, let's get it.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me again. Listen, I haven't interviewed a lot of people 3 times with Candice. I have, because
anytime I say put me in the game, Q, I'm ready to play.
I love it because it's not just the information that you give, it's how you deliver it, and it's so relatable to all of us. And I appreciate you. Please follow Candice on TikTok and Instagram. More importantly, go to her website, which is right there, y'all. It's right there. And it's in the comments. And, become a member. $7 a month. You get a community that can rally around you, or you can donate and, write it off on your taxes. Okay.
Please, thank you. Yeah. 501c3. We'll see you in the letter if you need it.
Well, thank you so much, Candice. I hope you have a great Christmas and even better 2024.
Thank you. You too. And if you need me in 2024, reach out to me.
And will.
I appreciate you. You have an amazing holiday and have an amazing year.
You too, Candice. Thank you, guys.
Cyber kisses.
I know. I love that. Is that a shirt yet? Did you make that be a shirt?
You know what? I did, and I discontinued it after COVID, but I got to bring it back because people been
talking about it.
So I got to bring it back. Our heads and cyber kisses got to come back.
I love it. All right, you guys. Thank you for joining us.